Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of AKP Sports Talk. As always, I'm Ari here at Korea. We're back on this Wednesday, August 28th, only one day away from officially week one college football. So we're right there. And then a week, and we're 8 days away from the start of the NFL season. So it's all right in front of us. Of course, we'll go over our best bets for tomorrow's games tomorrow, and then Friday for Saturdays for the games for the weekend. But for now, we're back to another day of NFL futures. This is probably our last day, or maybe some tomorrow too. But at least last day or second to last day of NFL futures. So let's get right into it with the season-long player prop for you, Korea. What do you got here?
Yeah, I already mentioned it. We're getting closer to the beginning of college football. Obviously, we have our best bets for tomorrow's games, and then Friday we'll have our best bets for those games, and through the entire weekend, Saturday, Sunday, and Monday's game. I think Boston College goes to Florida State, so we have that game on Monday. But I already mentioned, we may have some more NFL futures next week, as we get closer to the season. But this might be our last day, giving them out here for now. Obviously, just getting ready for the beginning of college football week one starting tomorrow. But today I wanted to give out one more NFL future. Obviously, as I mentioned, I gave out a season entry yesterday. Today, I'm giving out another one. And I'm giving out Breece Hall today. I'm giving out him over 10 and pretty much just to go over his rushing line at over pretty much 1050 and a half rushing yards. It's a pick 'em right now. I know it's a pick 'em, but I think that this guy is going to have an amazing year on the ground. He almost finished as a 1,000-yard rusher last year. And when you look at the whole Jets offense as a whole last year, and there wasn't really anything that stood out outside of Breece Hall, obviously, and Garrett Wilson. Aaron Rodgers got injured on the first drive of the game. I mean, that's just, how does that even happen? Not even the first, he didn't even make it a whole quarter, just the first drive. He got injured on the first drive. And obviously that's become a whole big meme now. But, I think, in year two, well, now essentially year one with Aaron Rodgers, I think this really opens up the Breece Hall experience, the Breece Hall playbook that, a lot of fantasy owners have been waiting for. I've seen a lot of people take him as, in terms of fantasy draft, he's been pretty much going at, 1.3 in most drafts right now. So a lot of people, obviously consensus are pretty much saying him as a top 5 fantasy pick. And, when you want to target, you want to target running backs who can go over this line. You want to target at least the top 5 running backs, and Breece Hall on the ground, obviously, one of the best backs that we've seen right now. Obviously, his talent is unprecedented. He can really, and the fact that he's coming off, that brutal injury, obviously the ACL tear. Obviously last year he had himself a good year, but he was still coming off that injury, and that wasn't, you can say what you want, but Ari, I know you've been targeting, when guys are coming off ACL tears, you always like to target the guy the year after they come off it. Obviously, Saquon Barkley is a big name. There have been many big names that have, had many knee injuries in terms of the running backs. And I think this is the year Breece Hall emerges. You can talk about, the fact that he's now fully healthy as one. You can also talk about, the offensive line being bolstered up. You can also talk about the fact that he has a quarterback now. Obviously, with Zach Wilson and Mike White, the in-between quarterbacks for the New York Jets last year, they didn't really offer too much. So obviously they just would stack the box and obviously, defend Breece Hall as much as they can. But now that they have, obviously, we can say for now, a fully healthy offense again with Aaron Rodgers in the helm, I think this provides, that outlet that Breece Hall can have on the ground. Because I think, he was almost 1,000-yard rusher in that offense last year. What makes it you think he's not going to be 1,000-yard rusher this year? I think he has great value here, to be. I think he could be the fantasy or the offensive. The offensive player of the year. I think there's great value for Breece Hall to be the offensive player of the year. Just in this offense, obviously, I like to target. When you target like an offensive guy, you got to target, someone who's going to be the focal point of the offense. The focal point. Can you hear me now? Can you see me now?
Yeah, you're good now.
Am I back?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Me and the wife again. We're getting it worked out soon. But like I was saying, he's the focal point of the offense alongside Garrett Wilson. They did bring in some other receivers alongside, but I think that just more distracts, defenses, to help, more have a more flourishing run game. And when you talk about, rushing yards and a rushing prop, you want to focus on the fact that, are they going to have competition? Is there going to be any significant competition to really affect the amount of carries that Breece Hall potentially could have? And I don't think there's really any major competition. Obviously, Braylon Allen's a big name out of Wisconsin, but in terms of really taking some like crucial snaps away from Breece Hall, I don't really see him being that kind of threat, emerging threat as a rookie. So I really think this is going to be Breece Hall's big year. I think this could turn into his offense because, obviously we know Aaron Rodgers is a great pass catcher, but he's coming off an Achilles tear at his high age. And, it's not like he's going to be just already strong and, like he's ready to take on the world again. Age is a factor. So you have to play into that as well. And, with the fact that he is getting up there in Aaron Rodgers, I should say, I feel, he may have to lean on his run game a lot more. Obviously, we've seen it, in glimpses in Green Bay, when, their receiving core wasn't the strongest, they would rely on Aaron Jones and A.J. Dillon a lot more with Aaron Rodgers handing them off the ball. But I feel like this is a great start for Breece Hall. And we've seen his explosive speed. We've seen him go for 80, 90-yard runs before. So, that obviously plays precedent to this over here. So I think Breece Hall just has a great year on the ground. I think, he has one of those, fantasy player of the year kind of candidates. Obviously, I mentioned, he's a target for offensive player of the year. I know a lot of people have been, mentioning him along with Bijan, and just because of his, schedule and his system. Obviously, Christian McCaffrey, a big name, Justin Jefferson, Tyreek Hill, all the other big fantasy names or offensive guys. I'm taking Breece Hall here. Obviously, you don't really think of the Jets as a big offense, but in terms of how the Jets offense will probably run, I think it runs through him, obviously, literally and physically. So I think Breece Hall has a great year on the ground. I'm taking his over 10, 15 and a half rushing yards. I know that line's grown, and I know it's pretty high, but I just love, Breece Hall this year. I think he could be one of the best, players, if not the best player in fantasy this year, just because of, the quarterback, like I said, the quarterback increase, offensive line got better, to say the least. Obviously, the Jets offensive line was bad, horrible, but anything is better than any new offensive changes is better at this point than nothing for the New York Jets. I mean, obviously, just him being the focal point of the offense. So that's my other one and only future for the season prop here. I gave out Joe Burrow yesterday. Today I'm giving out Breece Hall over 1,050 rushing and a half, 1,050 and a half rushing yards here. Just for him pretty much have a dominant year on the ground. I love that play. I pretty much a pick him right now on most books right now. I know that line's, been hovering around that line, but I got it there. I know it's been pretty consistent I think the past, week or week and a half there at 10.50 and a half at -110. So that's my one future for today. I'll let Ari take over here as we get closer. As Ari mentioned, week one kicks off for the college football slate tomorrow, but we do got one more future Ari wants to give out here. So Ari, I'll let you take the floor. What have you cooked up today on this Wednesday?
Yep, just one player prop for me as well. Going to Chris Godwin, who this just feels like an undervalued line. He broke out. It was 2019, I want to say, where he had the 1,300-yard season. He's gone, over 1,000 yards for the last 5 seasons. And last year felt like a down year for him. That's mostly because he only had 2 touchdowns. He still had over 1,000 yards. I guess my only concern here is that, there's the report that Godwin was expected to be more in the slot this year, which obviously helps him a lot because that's where he is at his best. But now, with the reports of McMillan, the rookie out of Washington looking good, there's a possibility that he also plays in the slot. So, that's my only, slight concern. But, even last year, Godwin didn't play fully in the slot and still cracked 1,000 yards. So I think even if McMillan comes in and takes some of that role, Godwin's still going to, I think, easily, beat this line of 850 and a half. I think the Bucs are still going to have to throw the ball quite a bit this season. The secondary is still has question marks. So I think they're going to be in shootouts again, just like they were in a lot of games last year. I think that just to me, it's just an undervalued line. I think it's maybe the emergence of McMillan as to why it's, so low compared to where he's finished 3 of the last 4 years. And, the 1 year he didn't crack 1,000 was just because of injuries. So, obviously, that can impact any player, but we're making these plays assuming that these players stay healthy, of course. And last 4 healthy seasons, he's cracked 1,000 yards. So I think even if he just plays again, even if he just moves to the slot partially, he can still easily hit this line because, again, that's what the role he was in last year was that role of, partially slot, and, he cracked 1,000 yards. So I'm just kind of taking advantage of this line that I think is a lot lower than where it should be.
That line definitely popped out to me a lot. Chris Godwin's line being super low, but I think as you mentioned, with the emergence of potentially McMillan out of UW being in the slot, there's changes for him, but I still think as you mentioned, he's been 1,000-yard receiver 3 times in this Bucs offense. Obviously, with all the quarterback changes, whether it's been Jameis Winston, whether it's been Tom Brady, or now obviously Baker Mayfield throwing the ball, I still believe that Chris Godwin obviously can crack this 850-yard receiving line here. I think it's just low because of all the changes regarding the Bucs in terms just how their offense is probably going to be a little bit different. Just in terms of the pass catchers, obviously bringing in McMillan. Obviously, they still have Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, but their offensive line, that's been a big question for them. Obviously, you mentioned the secondary, that's been a big question for them. But I feel like because of the secondary, we saw many games where Baker Mayfield had to use his arm a lot more. So I think that plays precedent, and obviously more targets can open up the field for some of those veteran guys. Obviously, Mike Evans, I talked about earlier. You're dependable. He's down there somewhere. Okay, he's down there somewhere. That's Mike Evans. And then, Chris Godwin in the slot, I think that definitely, can definitely get this line. I think it's just low because of the fact that McMillan's in there, but that line definitely was interesting to me. I thought it was just super low for a weird reason, but like you said, you got to take advantage of it while you can. So I do like that 850.5 over for you on Chris Godwin, as the pretty much second leading receiver, on this Bucs team for you. So I got Ari's future with the Chris Godwin over 850.5 receiving yards. My future with Breece Hall over his 10 and 50.5 rushing yards. Obviously, you can find both of these futures and, of course, this video on our Twitter, AKP Sports Talk. We will have all of our futures for the NFL. We'll have all of those futures posted on Monday. We'll have a collective tab so you can just access all of our NFL futures so you can place them before Thursday. Obviously, we'll have those posted Monday, and our full video, of course, will be posted on Twitter on down below AKP Sports Talk. But speaking of the future, we wanted to just acknowledge that we're going to be switching up our daily videos. Instead of doing daily weekday videos now with the NFL season and college football season, along with international soccer for those fans out there like myself, we're going to be switching more toward a sporadic recording. So we're going to be recording on Mondays, obviously, starting next week. So Monday, we're going to have our Monday recording, obviously recording for that Monday night game for college football, and then we're going to be going on Thursdays, obviously, and next Thursday to kick off the NFL season, and then Fridays are going to be our big days because that's going to be going into the weekend, covering college football Saturdays and NFL Sundays. So if you do want to make sure to watch our Friday videos from now on, we're going to have our full slates posted on there after the video. So Friday night we'll have our Saturday slate posted. Saturday night we'll have our Sunday football slate posted. So make sure to tune in to Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. Now we will not be recording Tuesday, Wednesdays unless obviously things may change. Schedules change. So keep on the lookout. But we're going to try to keep a consistent schedule starting next week of Mondays, Thursdays, and Fridays. But for the remainder of the week, obviously we'll have videos posted tomorrow and Friday. Obviously, tomorrow, we got week 1 of the college football slate starting. A bunch of games, including that good old North Dakota State and Colorado game, which I've seen a lot of people taking that. Colorado minus 9.5. Yeah, I bet. We'll get into that tomorrow. But for this episode, we appreciate you guys so much for tuning in. That is Ari. I'm Korea. We will see you guys tomorrow to break down the week 1 slate of college football. Peace out, guys.